Welcome, everybody. See, there's a few people here waiting already, so good to see. Nothing too serious today. There is a couple things that I'm kind of looking for right now, but more so, I was just bored and wanted to check out some charts, see what the heck is going on, take a look at a couple different time frames and that sort of thing. So, yeah, let's dive in. First of all, let me know in the chat, are you extremely bullish, extremely bearish? Are you in any positions right now? All that kind of stuff, guys. What are you feeling on the market? I think everybody who tunes into my channel by now knows that I am actually quite bearish, more bearish than most, and I have reason, obviously. I've been going over this in my last several streams, but basically nothing's changed. So I'm not going to change my outlook on the market until it's invalidated. Basically, if we start breaking above this macro STUBER fib box, then yeah, maybe I'll at least consider the possibility that things are bullish again. But as it stands right now, we just keep breaking lower low, lower low. And yes, I know these bounces feel great and they feel parabolic and they feel like we're going to the moon. And we might. That's the thing. Any trade pattern can get invalidated, but I would rather trade things that are already in the charts than assuming things are going to happen in the charts. And so far, all I see here, and I have it outlined, is most recently, lower low, we have not broken our lower high. My reason for this being my lower high is because obviously we had this low on the trend and we set a lower low. So the highest point between the two, that would then be our lower high. So that's what I'm looking at as far as where we need to break right now, but basically above this 786, 886. So yeah, we're going to have to see what happens. Obviously anything can happen. But yeah, I'm just leaning bearish, and that's not to say I'm not taking any long trades, you guys. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to dive into some shorter time frame charts here. One thing to consider is right now on the 5-minute, we are just starting to test 786, 886 fib pocket. That is something to consider if you're in a long position. I mean, myself personally, whenever I end up, this is where I would typically like to take a short, just because we have our low, lower low, lower high. That's your bearish break and structure, and then we're trading up at resistance right now. This can easily be invalidated if we start just basically jump above this box and then break this lower high. But on the 5-minute here, that is still the lower high until it's broken. And it looks like the bulls are taking a good run at it. So I am seeing some strength as well on the 1-minute. I know there's a couple things that have me holding off a little bit. But I think I might start building a bit of a short position. But before I really commit, I want to kind of see if we end up getting closer to my invalidation levels. I want to see us actually get close to that lower high structure there, just so I can see if we get some sort of a failed break or something like that, then just kind of adding to my confirmation that it is a little bit bearish right now, but we're gonna have to see what happens. One thing to consider, I know I've gone over this a million times, why I'm so bearish on the midterm. That's the thing, guys. I'm not saying that this bull market is necessarily over or anything like that. I just think that it's important to realize that resistance is resistance until it's broken, and people were getting very bullish right into resistance. People were so bullish as we traded just above that 786, never even got to the 886 and suffered a harsh rejection there. So I've been basically warning about that level on the weekly and the 4-hour chart for 3 or 4 weeks now at this point, I think. Well, basically ever since we got this bottom, which just so happened to be a 786, 886 fib bounce, right? That on top of this massive RSI divergence right here. I was fully, I fully admitted at that point that things did look bullish for then, but I was still bearish at this point. Yes, I started playing the trend to the upside for trading, but and at the time I was just saying basically my target was 68 to 70,000 US dollars. And we obviously got just above 68 and basically right to $70,000. That was my target since down here. So the fact that we hit it, now I have to consider the possibilities that, hey, we're back at resistance. So keep a level head. But that being said, same thing on my end, right? I'm not going to get stupid with this. I am fully willing to accept my theories are wrong, and I'm just trading shorter time frames anyways. But I'm fully willing to say that, you know, we start breaking these resistance levels and setting higher highs and higher lows, then yeah, absolutely, I'll be a moon boy as well. Just until then, I just have to pump the brakes a little bit is all that I'm saying, basically, because any time frame when I look at that structure break, like I just, yes, it's nice that we had this nice bounce here, but what you have to consider is, and also, yes, you know, the fact that we're just consolidating at very high prices, it very much so feels like we should break to the upside, but understand that we did lose these lows, these candle bodies lows on the weekly. We lost these lows. We even closed below the wick down here. That's a massive structure break right there, and that's a bearish structure break. Yes, it's great we reclaimed this level, but that's totally normal. When you're looking at a trade setup on a shorter time frame, you're looking for a sweep of a level and then that pullback, basically, right? You're not FOMOing into a short down here. Actually, a lot of people were, and that's where they start getting wrecked on the short side of things. Just like up here, now that people started longing into resistance, just like they were shorting into support, that's totally normal. And to see this on the weekly time frame, that is a bearish structure break. We have not taken out the high between the two, so we have not broken that lower high structure. So as far as risk reward goes, I mean, there is a further potential move this way, basically. Yes, if we break all-time highs, you know what, that doesn't mean that people who are bearish, as long as they are actual traders and willing to adapt to the market, it's not like bears are going to necessarily get wrecked, right? Yes, losing a trade, sure, it happens to every single trader. Everybody loses trades, that's fine. But understanding the risk involved with those trades and just understanding that there is red flags in the chart. Shorter time frames, yes, there's been nice bounces and stuff, but this just looks like a typical bearish chart that I would short on the 5 minute or the 1 minute. So to see it on a weekly, it's easy to forget that charts do take a few candles to play out. Just because you lose a support level does not mean you're instantly nuking. It means you're probably going to come back and test those lower high levels, which also happen to line up with my favorite fib levels, and that's kind of where that's where the bullish target was, right? So yeah, we can keep going, but the target has been hit for me, basically. The monthly time frame, I look at it sometimes. Honestly, I can't tell you all too much about this. Yes, it is nice that we are trading above that resistance. I'll give you that. Yeah, that's basically why this level, I think everybody should be careful, basically. On a bearish side of things, I'm willing to be invalidated, and even when I'm taking shorts, like I've been heavily biased on the short side of things lately. I've taken the odd hedge long and I've taken the odd scalp long. I've been mostly looking for shorts, but I still have been closing, taking half my profits off the table and then setting stop losses to break even. So I'm still practicing tight risk management because I absolutely see the reason for a potential continuation to the upside. It's just that there is also those red flags, and just playing the bearish side has been treating me better than playing the bullish side, basically, when it comes to trading. I still have most of my spot bags. It's not like I'm overly bearish on the market as a whole. It's more so just the way that I'm trading the market more so. Something to consider with this is, yes, we are trading above this resistance here. We are not trading above the wick resistance. Right now we kind of lost that wick level, so we're still kind of trading in resistance. Yes, I will say the candle bodies are more important, so it is good to see us here. One thing to consider is we have this big bearish RSI divergence again. That's what really alerted me in early June that things were going to take a downturn, was this on the weekly chart. Yes, technically, so here's one argument that a lot of people will make is that yes, the RSI might be breaking out, kind of a thing. I treat horizontal levels stronger than diagonal personally. Like, I will still map out diagonal trend lines on both indicators and my candles and stuff like that. But I also do, before considering anything a proper breakout, I want at least 3 tests of that line. So this on the weekly or the monthly as well as the weekly. If you were looking for some kind of a trend line break, first touch, second touch, we're basically getting our third touch depending how you draw it. Yeah, maybe we're testing the top of it. But in that case, it only had 2 touch points before breakout as well. So I don't know. To me, it kind of looks like this is our RSI line, as if we're possibly getting rejected right at the rejection level that I was warning about. Just kind of, you know, there's a lot of things lining up. There's a lot of red flags right now. Let's even go for a diagonal resistance line. You know, we just had diagonal resistance. We had Fibonacci resistance. We had RSI resistance. There's a lot of things lining up, and this is all after that bearish structure break. But like I said, we end up closing above this STUBER fib box, I'll be bullish again. It's just that right now we're trading into resistance, and I don't want to get too bullish into resistance. I like to short resistance and long support. So that's just kind of how I'm looking at the weekly chart. I'm not trading the weekly chart anyways, you guys. This is just kind of helping me choose a bias and just being ready for things, right? Because if I wasn't ready for this, I might have stopped trading the downside a lot before my target, basically. I might have been, you know, FOMO longing every dip that I had or that came to light in this range here, basically. But the fact that I was ready for this big move made me able to hold on to my shorts a little better and that sort of thing. So, and that's just kind of what I'm looking at right now, right? It's more so than just being bearish. It's more so just reacting to the market in that case. So like if all of a sudden we get some crazy dump past 50K, you know, I've been mentioning some pretty crazy levels. I don't want to go into that again right now because I don't even like bringing them up at this point because it's way too early. But we start breaking, you know, set another lower low. That's a pretty strong trend at that point, and panic could set into the market at that point. It makes total sense to test resistance a few times with those bearish structure breaks, with the RSI being bearish, diagonal resistance. But that being said, guys, when I was talking about diagonal trend lines and playing breakouts earlier, like I said, I like to have 3 touch points before a breakout. So at this point, you know, I would consider this 1, this 2, this 3. If now, if we get rejected this week here and then we break through, I'm actually going to be significantly more bullish at that point just because we've tested that level, you know, a few more times, just building, you know, turning that old resistance into support. So just building a little bit of structure there. That would be ideal, but I just, as it stands right now, like I said, resistance is resistance until it's broken, and it's coming at us from a diagonal, from a horizontal, and from indicators. Higher time frame validation for this would be, well, it all depends, right? Like I'm going to be bearish on the weekly chart until the weekly closes a candle above my 886 basically, or above our lower high here. But that being said, if the 4-hour breaks structure first, like let's just say on this chart here, we get those closes above the lower high on the 4-hour, then, you know, I'm going to start being bullish again on the midterm, and then just hopefully having it confirmed by the weekly after. Something to consider about this, you guys, is like I was talking about on the bearish side of things, when I'm getting that bearish structure break and looking for that retrace, the reason why I was targeting this level from down here, same thing goes for the opposite end, right? If we end up breaking that structure, I'm not saying I'm necessarily FOMOing in everything I got at that point. We could technically come right back down, but that would be very different though, because the market structure would be so much different in that case that even though we're coming back down to some of these targets, I would actually be quite bullish. And I bet you would see a lot of people flipping very bearishly if we come down to these levels. If we come down to these levels at this point, I'm going to be bearish. If we break this structure back here and then pull back to this level, I will be very bullish. So that's just kind of waiting for those confirmations in the chart. And I might not get that pullback, right? Sometimes the market just starts trending and going nuts and whatever. As we set higher highs and higher lows, I can totally adjust that. But as it stands right now, this is the lower high that needs to be broken. And after that, basically I'm bullish until invalidated down here. But I'm still not necessarily just looking for that breakout play, right? Everybody wants to, oh, you know what? We broke out. Time to long the hell out of this. And yeah, you know, if you're getting a nice reaction from that resist support flip or something like that, the indicators you have are matching up and a whole bunch of things, like you have other confluences with that, then yeah, sometimes breakout trades do work well. But so often on any time frame after structure gets swept or broken, however you want to look at it, there is those pullbacks. And the 4 hours no different, the weekly's no different. 5 minute, 1 minute, 1 hour, they all kind of do it, right? So that's one thing that actually leads me to thinking that we might get a bounce fairly soon, but I still won't be overly bullish, because if I flip over to the 1 hour here, basically right now, yeah, this is our small range right now, and this is what it looks like on the 1 hour. But if we end up breaking out of this fib box here, and just because looking at structure right now, right, we had our low, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. So basically, I like candle closes above the wicks even. A lot of people would say just above the candle bodies, in which case, then yeah, we might actually have some bullish structure forming here. But again, even if that was to happen, we could easily pull back like that before going forward. And if that does happen, something that I just want to put on your radar, and take this how you will, none of this is financial advice. You do whatever works for you, because the thing is, you know, I could be trading this chart bearishly, I could be shorting this, and someone else can be longing this and longing the dips and taking profits. And we can both be profitable. We can both lose at it. It doesn't really matter what our predictions is or are. It's more so what's important is that execution. So that's where I always say, you guys, you've heard it a million times, being able to react is so much more important than being able to predict in the game of trading. So that's one of those things where, you know, if we do get this bounce here, something that I want to put on your radar is on the 1 hour, we did lose this higher low, even pointed out by the indicators here, my auto charting tools. So we did lose that higher low, and that's on the 1 hour chart. So after that, and obviously, so yeah, just basically look at this, how I was just describing structure. We had a high, we set a higher high. That confirms the lowest point between the two as your higher low, and we ended up losing that. So now, even if we were to remain bearish, we could still very much so get some sort of a retrace, and that's how I always look for STUBER fib setups, you guys. I point this out in the Discord every day, basically. I look for those structure breaks and then that pullback. So if we get up to these levels up here, rather than getting FOMO, like I'm assuming a lot of people are going to get, just thinking, hey, this is it. We're taking another run at all-time highs. We're taking another run at 70K. The thing is, we're taking another run at resistance after losing structure. So that's where I would actually be starting to look for short positions on shorter time frames in those areas, more so than FOMOing into the potential breakout, because again, I'm playing what the charts have already shown. I'm not saying that, hey, this might break out. And it's absolutely possible my trades get invalidated. Like I said, every trader loses trades. It's important to know your risk, know how much. Basically, the way I go into any trade, you guys, is understand what worst case scenario is with that trade. If you're not using a stop loss, how much margin do you have on that position? If you're using cross margin and you're not using a stop loss, well, what other money do you have in your account that might end up going bye-bye? You know what? Even with a stop loss, what happens if there's slippage and your position gets liquidated? Because it has happened to me when trading altcoins before, where my stop loss was in a profit and I got liquidated on that position anyways. So those things happen. So always know worst case scenario when you enter a position. Mystical. Yeah, I've been seeing you commenting on a lot of my videos there. I appreciate it so much, by the way. I notice each and every comment and new subscribers and everything. I'm a small enough channel that I see everybody who comments and stuff. Um, Definitely appreciate that. And you're right. And that's not to be cocky. I was just reading the charts for how they were. I have a very easy time disassociating myself from the news, and a lot of people don't have that ability, which is totally fine. But I've just, this isn't my first market cycle, and I have got wrecked on trading news and how I thought the markets were going to react to certain things. And then I just said, you know what? I am not listening to another thing. I don't care. Even COVID was a good example. People were like, oh, I have no idea how we could all of a sudden leave this bear market now after this, because we don't know if anyone's going to have money or anything. Well, then that was all misunderstood as well, right? It's very easy to misunderstand how the economy works in general. That's just another place you can make a mistake, just like you can make a mistake in charting. And that's just, I myself saw in the charts how bullish Bitcoin was as COVID nuked it. It came back. You know what? That's one thing that I want to point out. Nobody thought this could happen, but it absolutely came back to the weekly STUBER fib. Yes, it was COVID, but you know what? That's just something I look at on every time frame. Like I said, structure basically works the same. This is the same setup we have currently. Yeah, look how long it bounced around before that move happened. It took months. That's where people are getting bullish very quickly right now. Basically, just like back here, we got this big green candle, everyone was bullish again. We got this green candle, everyone was bullish again. But yeah, basically, nobody thought that we could end up filling this Fibonacci pocket back here, and we did. But then also, a lot of people at that point didn't understand how can this market recover from this if nobody knows if they'll have jobs or anything? Well, then, what happened? Money printer turned on. People started getting free money. Inflation went through the roof, and it was predicted by a lot of crypto people that inflation was going to get nuts. So it ended up turning absolutely parabolic. And I remember talking to friends, and I said, I think the chart is actually quite bullish. And I had a couple people arguing with me that there's no chance that this can recover right now because of everything going on. And a couple of them said they were going to short and not use stop losses because they were getting sick of getting wicked out. And I said, just so you know, you might be wrong. Always understand that no matter how sure you are. And that's why I say right now, myself included, if I'm wrong about this, that's fine. I know that I'm smart enough to know that I don't have all the answers and I don't know everything. I'm smart enough to know that I might be wrong here, and that's why I have invalidation levels. That's why I never got rid of all my crypto, even though I'm bearish. It's just more so helping me pick the direction that I'm trading. And honestly, it's just kept me keep a level head through this. Looking at crypto Twitter and stuff like that. There's so many people, you can tell emotions are running so high, people who are upset when the price goes down and stuff. And I don't know, my trade account has been loving the downside price action just because it's been so volatile. And yeah, I've taken a couple longs as well. Let's see. On the 5 minute, I did have this STUBER here. And this is where I use the indicators as a little bit of confluence as well. So this is just going to that same structure lesson, right? We have our low. We end up breaking it here, set our lower low, pull the fib from our lower high. Indicator agrees. That's my lower high. And look where we're getting that rejection so far, is that 786, 886 fib pocket. Again, does not have to play out. We might just blast through it right now. Who knows? But all I'm saying is there's an obvious reaction at those levels, and they do get respected so often. Yeah, just definitely something to be cautious of, you guys, that when I see this on 5 minutes or 1 minute or an hour or 4 hour weekly, there's no reason I'm going to take the weekly chart any different. Barry, welcome. Cause, Good to see you once again, Scumdog. Seen you in a few recently as well. You guys are all legends here. I love having you guys here. Honestly, it just makes me look at things with the level head as well, right? When I can talk you guys through this. I got the start of my position there, but I was really hoping to go a little bit higher to add to it. But at least this way you guys can kind of see as well, like, obviously, just as I said before, right, it's more important to be able to react than predict. That's where these live streams looking at the 5 minute or the 1 minute are a lot of fun, because you can also see how I'm adjusting my thought process as the position changes. Because, you know, if things come up on the indicators that tell me that, hey, maybe I shouldn't be in this position, like right now we have this buy signal on my on the Trendmaster with obviously the StuTube trading settings here. We have this buy signal, and yes, that is a little bit concerning that, hey, maybe I shouldn't be taking a short at this level. However, something that I'm considering here is that we had, well, basically this buy, that's a lower buy, right? The sell signals are so far trending to the downside. So there's just, even though it's a buy signal, it's a lower buy signal. So it's just me using the indicators showing that, hey, maybe the trend is continuing to the downside. We also have all these W's here trending to the downside. Just a few things trending to the downside, right? Lower high by the signal, lower high. But yeah, if all of a sudden, you know, let's say we get a lower sell signal now, but then we get a higher buy signal, I'll actually consider flipping a little bit bullish for the short term. Whether at that point I'm able to take some profits off my short, or it's just maybe time to reduce some risk, or just close the position entirely. It depends how it looks, how those things come to light, right? Because I don't know where those signals are going to happen. I don't know where Bitcoin's going to find support and how structure is going to play out. All I know is at this point, we have a lower low, lower low, lower high, 786 fib test. But again, guys, I lose trades just like everybody else. It's just that this trade setup, I guess I've just grown such an eye for it that I just see it all over the place now. And yes, although some of them lose, I would way rather be entering a short at these levels after the pullback rather than FOMOing into the short on the breakout. Because even if I take a loss here, I'm taking a smaller loss than had I FOMOed into the breakout. Spyros, this is your third StuTube live stream. Found me on Financial Summit. That's awesome. I love to hear it. I'm so glad that they were willing to add me into their roster, I guess, of people who want to do some live streams. They were looking for someone who likes the 1 minute, 5 minute, the shorter time frames. So one of their people who I have made connections with before recommended me, and we contacted each other. And yeah, it's been great. They're a super nice team, easygoing, and yeah, I just love that they allow me to go and stream on there. I want to be doing that more often in the near future. Just for the first few, just got to make sure it works with scheduling and stuff like that. But eventually, I should be able to just kind of hop on there whenever. But yeah, I decided to do more live streams on my own channel because I was just having fun. Honestly, when I did those couple with them, I just had a lot of fun. And also in the VIP Discord for MDX ALGO, I also do every Thursday in the Discord. I have a live stream actually right around this time of the day. And it's just a lot of fun. I love looking at live charts. I love analyzing things live. And looking at those shorter time frames, they're just exciting, right? Obviously, trading the shorter time frames isn't for everybody. Leads to, I say this every video because I think it's important, it leads to very bad habits like over trading, revenge trading, over leveraging, just being an absolute a burden on your mental health. It can do a lot of those things. So just know if it fits your personality. I personally think most people should probably trade like the 1 hour or the 4 hour. But honestly, I myself, I have a harder time keeping a level head when I play those slower patterns. I just want to basically get in, get out, or at least get my risk off the table. Start taking profits, update my stop loss quickly, and then I can just carry on with my day, basically. If I catch a home run, great. And if not, whatever. I am more of a scalper, but it's great when a scalp runs, obviously. And that's why I don't close my whole position at once. Like, if we hit my range target down here, I'll absolutely be closing half of my short. But I'll be leaving half of it, because if we do just continue nuking, because obviously there's a lot of potential room to the downside. This would basically be my target of this pattern if it is to play out, would be down around 58k. So hey, if I just happen to catch a nuke like that out of a quick 1 minute scalp, great, or 5 minute scalp, but not banking on it. Backtesting is the best thing you can do, basically. You bet Samuel Oil backed me up. Yeah, he might have had something to do with it. Yeah, backtesting, very good idea. That's the thing. If backtesting takes a lot of the stress out, because at that point you kind of have an idea of what your odds are. At least you're going into things with a little bit of an idea of what's going on, and the best way to do that is using the bar replay feature on TradingView, where you just go back, pick a random spot in the charts, and play out a ton of charts, and just pick a strategy, write out a set of rules, and then every time all those rules are met, just say or write down where you would be entering, where you'd be taking profits, where your stop is, and just see, did it play out, did it not play out? And that way, like, I know when I first started trading, there were certain chart patterns that, and actually this will be interesting for you guys. A lot of you guys won't know this part. I used to backtest a lot of chart patterns, because that's how you learn. And I backtested, it was like, my memory's playing hard to get right now, but I think I backtested, it was like 2 or 3 years of chart data on Bitcoin and Ethereum on the 4 hour and the daily charts. And this chart pattern on the weekly that I'm super bearish on, that's very specifically a double top setup that I backtested the shit out of years ago. And basically, I think I backtested something like an 87% success rate on that chart pattern. That's kind of one of the reasons why I'm so bearish right now. Because last cycle, I totally noticed this as well back here, that same bearish RSI divergence, and I totally ignored it. And you know what? My portfolio took a big hit, and I did nothing about it. And that's basically why this time I said, you know what? I'm at least going to take profits on some of my spot and start considering the downside. And when I first started talking about these bearish theories, I mean, I didn't even believe them. I just started pointing out like, hey, wouldn't that be funny if this plays out? And then I started thinking like, uh-oh, this looks very familiar. And that's why I've been so bearish. So again, happy to be invalidated. Happy to jump on the moon wagon. Just right now, this is kind of what caught my eye. And yeah, backtesting. This is a pattern that I backtested, that double top. I wasn't really doing Fibonacci's as much, but basically 786, 886, that's right in double top territory. Well, and that is the candle bodies here, so that is absolutely double top territory with this massive RSI divergence. Going from extreme overbought conditions down to no longer being overbought. See, that's the thing. If this RSI would have came down and actually held as overbought, I would not have considered it overbought. I would have considered that as a shit ton of buying pressure, because it's the relative strength index. So that would have just been showing a ton of strength. It's the fact that we came back to the same levels and slightly lower with significantly less strength. And even now, that's kind of what I'm looking at this again. We got and just in case some of you guys haven't seen this yet, this pattern already played out once, where we basically well, here, basically these candle bodies lost this structure here, lost this structure. And where we ended up bouncing, we came right back to that 786, 886 fib pocket and got rejected. Now we broke structure again. So I'm just going to move the Fibonacci's down to where would, at that point, that would have been our swing high because that's our lower high. Pull it to the bottom of where we are now. Where did we end up finding resistance? There's a common theme here, you guys, and it is concerning. I don't want to be all doom and gloom. I've been a moon boy since late 2020 to, well, middle 2024. So a year and a half, I was full on moon boy. But right now, I am just feeling that there's some red flags there. The bounce off the 50 RSI, yes, I would consider that. The only thing is we got that these other times as well, I believe. Where was it? Yeah, right about here. So we kind of got like 4 weeks of trading sideways after the RSI tested the 50, and then it just continued dumping. Back here it held though. I'll give it that. Basically RSI went halfway into its channel, even a little bit lower, down towards about 40, and then found support. But that was a serious correction as well, right? I mean, we got that signal twice last market cycle. That's why I'm saying I don't necessarily think it's the end of the market cycle. I just think there's a potential very large pullback, and I'm not sure 25% was all that this move had. So we'll see, right? Like I said, happy to be wrong. Parabolic trends are fun to trade. I'll start longing the shit out of those as well. My only thing is I just got to keep a level head as we trade into resistance. I don't care what's going on fundamentally because the fundamentals for crypto are always getting better. We still have bear markets. We still have bearish trends. So just to keep a level head, I just love talking to you guys about this. The more the better. The more I say it, I know it probably gets repetitive, but I think it's important to hear it over and over. Myself personally, I just like to say things over and over so that hopefully I stick to my plan, because it was hard for me to remain bearish here, you guys. As we're trading up, I have emotions just like everybody else, but I've talked about this so many times, and the reason I am still so bearish is because as I kind of joked about this back at these levels, I joked about when we end up breaking support, getting a pullback to the next STUBER fib, and the fact that this has all been playing out, which was kind of jokingly mentioned June 13th, I think was the stream I did about that. To see it all playing out so well is my biggest concern at this point. Brought, welcome. Might find some support here. One thing that did have me a little bit alarmed is that I thought when we got back to these levels, I thought the market would be like 70% long. It was only about 50, although that is starting to climb now. After that weekly close, I think a lot of FOMO's coming back into the market because it's now about 60% retail long. So I think if we see that, if we get that other pullback back up to this resistance again, and we see that long short ratio get to like 70-75%, I think that would be a huge warning. Kind of wanted to step outside here relatively soon, but I also kind of want to see what happens at this level. The fact that we're retesting it again so quickly like this, I think we might actually get push a little higher. And like I said, if we end up breaking this lower high, I think it makes a lot of sense that we end up actually climbing into this 1 hour range. I'd be more open to the idea that we test up quite a bit higher. I'm going to map out that level now so I don't forget about it. And then as we get into that level, yes, I don't really trade the 1 hour all too often. But if we get up to that level, I'm going to start looking for, you know, the 1 minute and the 5 minute, looking for structure breaks, those fib pullbacks on shorter time frames, that sort of thing. What do we got here? We got another sell signal, but something to consider there is they are trending to the upside. Sell signal, higher sell signal, higher sell signal, buy, higher buy. We might see another higher buy come into play here, so something to consider there. Can I go over the MDX indicators? I'll go over a few. So this is the one that just looks beautiful. That is the trend dynamic. And the only thing I really use out of this, there's a ton of customization you can do with these indicators. The only thing I really use it for is the beautiful colors, just because I like getting baked and looking at colorful charts and trading them. I use that and reversal warnings. And that's those yellow W's here. And basically what I'm mostly looking for there is which direction they're trending. If I'm in a position and all of a sudden they start trending the opposite direction, like if, let's say, for example, if I was in a long position from down here and then we get this reversal warning and a lower reversal warning, even though we carried on a little bit higher, I would have taken this as a big red flag and I would have started de-risking my position. Same thing with the opposite. When you get the higher signals, then that's where I'm considering playing the bullish side of things. And it's not going to work out every time, obviously, but I more so use them for confluence with reducing risk and taking profits, because honestly, when it comes to trading, taking profits is the hardest thing you can do. I can almost promise you that for most people, taking profits is the hardest thing. Anybody can get into a position that's winning for a brief period, but to actually close that before it scares the shit out of you is actually hard to do. So that's where some of these signals really come into play, where, you know, if I'm in a long position, sell signal comes up, you know what, maybe I should consider closing a quarter or half my position, kind of a thing. So trend dynamic is the W's and the pretty colors. The buy and sell signals here, that's the trend master indicator. I actually have my own preset settings on that, kind of scalping settings. On its own, it actually doesn't backtest that well on shorter time frames for my settings. Like, obviously you can configure them the way you want them. What I mostly use them for is spotting the trend more so, and also on longer time frames, since I do try and spot the trend with them. Oh, whoops, didn't want to get rid of those. Let's remove some drawings, remove some stuff here, bring up that trend master, and you can see I have the backtesting data up here, and it's backtested very well when you're looking at a trend. When you're looking at the longer time frames, very well. It's called basically every market cycle shift. And yeah, like obviously in something like this, you miss half the bear market. That's totally normal. It had a beautiful warning there that things were about to, basically shit was about to hit the fan, right? This called it beautifully. And basically COVID was the only time that I can find that it ever struck out, basically. Like this one down here, if you would have had these indicators back here, holy hell. Just a quick 46x. Obviously, as the market cycles go on, it takes more money to push the price. Market cycles get smaller in percentage wise, so I'm not thinking that we're going to get that type of a move out of this buy signal. But we do still have this buy signal, so there is still that support. That's one thing that I keep mentioning for the bulls. We did find nice support there. What other indicators here? I want to flip. Oh yeah, I'm on the 4 hour auto charting tools. That's these lower highs, higher highs, all that sort of thing. There's, again, basically all these indicators. There's so much customization you can do. I really only use this one for those swing points, the lower highs, the lower lows, higher highs. That's really all I use. I really like to keep clean charts because I think if you have too many indicators up at a time, too many signals, too many trend lines, you just go chart blind. It's hard to take an entry or know what the hell's actually going on. So I keep most of my indicators, most of my trend lines, most of my structure. It's all fairly clean. So that's one that I use. This one is very interesting. The liquidations indicator. Basically showing where liquidation levels are, and I have it set up to only show the highest leverage ones, the 50x and 100x liquidation levels, just because there's a better chance. Basically, the way I see it, it's easier for the market maker to take out liquidation levels of high leverage traders, right? They're the traders who get into a position too late. I was talking about the fact that people were shorting into support. As people were shorting into this move down here, look at all the liquidity that built up here. All these yellow lines here, that's all liquidation levels. And look, once that was happening, everyone starts getting into those high leverage shorts way too late into the trend. That's when you see all of a sudden, oh, yep, there's more liquidity to the upside than the downside. There was nothing left down here. Basically right down to here, we grabbed it all. And then we reverse and we start grabbing this other liquidity. And now what's happening is it's starting to shift to the downside again, right? We grabbed most of this, and now all of a sudden it's starting to build up down here. So now people are starting to get FOMO again, right? I was talking about the long short ratio is starting to build. It went from 50% to 60%. And we have, that's just proof that people are starting to feel FOMO-y up here, and those liquidation levels are starting to form to the downside. So something to watch there. I think that's a very cool indicator. Just really helps you put things into perspective. And also, I like to use it for taking profits. I like to front run those levels a little bit if I have positions open. So that's kind of how I use that. And you can actually change that. You can make it, rather than levels like that, you can put liquidation bands. So basically, something that this could indicate that, hey, there's some liquidity up here. So maybe that bounce I was talking about before would make a lot of sense, right? Come up here, grab some of this high leverage liquidity, and then get shut down. All your entries are from STUBER FIBS. Most of them. Sometimes I do just play the trend of the indicators. Like, if I just see that there's higher trending W's, higher trending buy and sell signals, stuff like that. If I can keep a real tight stop loss, sometimes I'll do that as well. But still, even when they're trending, when the indicators are trending like that, I still like to look for those pullbacks after a structure break. Just because, honestly, that's one of the reasons I love trading the shorter time frame as well, is because, if people are trading the 4 hour or the daily or even the 1 hour, if you miss your opportunity and the market takes off on you, and all of a sudden your risk management would have to go out the window for you to get into a position, but you're going to FOMO in anyways because you might not get the same opportunity for another couple weeks. Whereas on the 1 minute or the 5 minute, if I miss one of those setups, it's like, I'm probably going to get a 786, 886 fib pullback in the next hour or two. Like, really, if I'm watching the charts, they happen all the time. Sometimes they're smaller, and obviously if it's a smaller range you're mapping out, then you got to take profits quicker. And if you're too greedy in that aspect that it's like, no, you know what, that move was too small, I'm not taking profits yet, then that's kind of on the person who's trading. And it's like, well, you know what, you're supposed to trade the range first and hope for the breakout later. Or at least that's the way I look at things, because again, I love catching the swing of things, but realistically the market chops sideways way more than it's actually trending. And that's why I think it's so important. Using Fibonacci's keeps things so structured. So it just helps keep those emotions at bay. That, this one, for example, that one that I'm in the short on, still struggling with that resistance level. Again, it might not play out, but I'm hoping to close half my position down here at my target down here, because that's my range target. And if it ends up taking off and we get more to my swing target, that's where I would be zooming out to a bigger time frame like this. Okay, where did this swing start? Way down here. Well, we're actually fairly close to that target too. But and you know what, that's something that might be bullish. Maybe we come back to this level and then end up finding support. I would consider, if I see something on a shorter time frame as we're trading in this fib pocket down here, I would consider swinging at a hedge long or a scalp long, or depending what my shorts are doing at that time, because I might not be in one at that time. Who knows? But I'm not a perma bear. Like, I'll still swing at longs. I just don't have a strong bullish bias right now is all, but I'll trade the charts for what they are. But this would basically be my swing target. And then after that, if that breaks, then zooming out again, right? The way I'm looking at it on the 4 hour is basically this green line down here would be my range target. And my reasoning for that, actually, I am going to change this a little bit. I have this mapped out right now to be the full range, but I'm going to just, there's two different ways you can look at it, because you could just say that we take it from the lower high here. Bottom stays the same there. Lower highs stay the same. So again, we still filled that fib pocket absolutely perfectly, but maybe this is more so the fib we're looking for, in which case my range target, if this does play out bearishly, would be down here around 58K. And my reasoning for this 214 fib is it's basically the opposite of the 786. It's slightly different because it's a different pull, right? If I'm looking for support, I'm pulling from bottom to top, rather than back here I was looking for resistance, so pulling top to bottom. But just look where that 214 lines up when I pull a fib like this. It's just front running the 786 a little bit. So that's my reasoning for that, just to keep it on my radar that, hey, you know what? If I'm in a short position and I was normally willing to take a long position at this level, maybe I should consider taking profits off my short, because either way, a buy is a buy. That's a buy level. As far as other indicators with MDX Algo, there is a ton of them. I don't use nearly all of them. I just use a few. There's this one down here that I use as well. This is the oscillator collection. Shows divergences. This money flow cloud in the middle is interesting because, you know, money talks. If there's money flowing into the market, that's one thing right now. We still do have this green flowing money cloud. Yeah, basically a beefed up RSI. I still like to use the RSI as well, but I usually have both of them up here. But yeah, there's a handful of other indicators, basically a dozen more. I personally don't use them as much, so I don't want to bring them up and use them incorrectly or anything. For those of you who are in the MDX Algo community, there's plenty of videos from some of the other coaches, some of the ones who have actually built these indicators that have done videos on how they work. So very cool. But yeah, very unique indicators, everything from ETF inflows, outflows, price GPT, just predictive price, funding rates, divergences in spot versus like leverage. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of very interesting indicators there. But I'm a creature of old habits. I stick to what I know. I'm a simple man, you see. Yeah, so far that resistance is still holding. So like I said, no matter what happens here, you can see that there's so often such an obvious reaction at that 786 fib pocket. I'd love to see us just get a live nuke real quick just to my range target, because like I said, I kind of want to go outside here right away. It's a very nice day. I'll maybe wait, see what happens the next few minutes here, but yeah, you guys kind of know my plan here. This indicator down here, we did get that hidden bullish divergence as we were trying to find support there, but it quickly got shut down. Looks like we got this little red continuation dot here, so yeah, there's some red flags here. When did I give up on the 618 for the 786? Probably a year or two ago. I don't know. Like I still like the 618. I just don't have it on this chart because when I'm looking for Stuber setups, that's just another thing to clutter my charts. And like I said, I don't like a ton of lines up there. The 618 gets respected quite well, and especially on larger time frames. But I find that even when candle bodies are respecting the 618, they will so often wick to the 786. Just like quite often when the 786 gets respected by candle bodies, the 886 ends up getting hit by the wicks. And just again, going back to our COVID dump that we had. Candle bodies, yeah, they went slightly in there, but for the most part, right around the 786, fill that 886. So it's almost like they go wherever the candle bodies are closing, they almost like go to the next one. So I find even when the 618 gets hit, the 786 often does as well. Yeah, it's possible that I missed some setups. And I mean, there's obviously other ways you can take positions. Like, let's say, you notice that it is at the 618, you got a bunch of bullish divergences, something like that. Sure. But I myself, just for what I look at, and since I see so many of these every day on the shorter time frames, I just like to wait for that 786. When entering a trade off a Stuber fib, where do I typically put my stop loss? Usually just I have this 115 fib as basically my invalidation level, because there's always a chance the 786 is basically where I'm starting to consider resistance. So this is actually like, this move could remain bearish and still go quite a bit higher. Because, we could just get a fake out above all-time highs again and get something like that, and that might be incredibly bearish, right? But on shorter time frames, obviously, because I'm not trading the weekly, so my stop loss is not above 77,000, for example. But basically, that's kind of my invalidation on setups. So like in this case, my stop loss would have just been it's slightly above this level. I like to leave some wiggle room. That's basically there to remind me to leave some wiggle room. But so often I see the price come and tap this or go just slightly past, probably like the 116 or something. That happens so often. So I personally like to leave some wiggle room. I probably enter more trades off the 1 minute than the 5 minute. You know what? On the 1 minute, here was a perfect example of a Stuber fib setup, actually, had we had this open. But we lost this structure here. Again, this is Captain Hindsight. These happen all the time on the 1 minute, like I said, but we broke that higher low structure. Going from our swing high at that point. Wait, that would have been... Well, I would actually use this point because the indicators are pointing it out, but we could pull it from down here, up here, whatever. But basically pulling it to that lower low. Notice where we end up getting rejected there. And notice that we have hit that range target. So now we can't actually pull a new one here, right? Because there isn't a sweep of this low here. So that structure actually hasn't changed at this point. It got back down to the bottom of the range. But again, support is support until it's broken. And that's why when I do play that type of a setup, I do look at taking profits in the range with half my position, a quarter to half of my position. Really depends how I'm feeling on the market at the time, what longer time frames are doing, how confident I am on that side of things. But yeah, typically I close like half my position at the range target. And then hope with the second half that I catch a big nuke. But yeah, if we get, you know, if the price from here goes something like that, then at that point, that's where I could pull a new fib, because between our low and our lower low, our highest point between the two is right there. So that's where I would be pulling my fib, something like that. And that's when I would start looking for shorts in this area. Just like I was showing on the weekly, guys, you know, that structure break, the pullback, the fact that the weekly chart got this bounce is not abnormal. Even if this is to carry on to the downside, a reaction like that would be totally normal. And here's a perfect example of that happening. Yeah, myself personally, I usually front run the 786 just very slightly. Um, I don't have like a set number, just kind of what I'm feeling, what's a even number around. I usually want to front run those as well. So just kind of a judgment thing at the time. But yeah, I usually front run my fibs a little bit, and I ladder in heavier as I get closer to my invalidation. So like had I played this setup exactly and my stop loss, let's just say it was up here, I would be starting to enter my position, or would have started entering my position right here, but then I'd be more so laddering in heavier up here. Recently, I've been doing like a quarter to a third of my position at the 786, and then laddering in the rest around double top territory, and that brings my average entry up. Especially when you're going heavier up higher, then it pulls up your average entry quite a bit. So if I can get it, you know, a little bit above the 886, at least if I get stopped out, then it's actually just helped manage my risk a little bit more. Because again, I don't win every trade, nothing like that. But it's just good to control those losses when they come, right? And again, just as far as risk management goes, that does not mean that I'm entering a position here and entering triple the size position up here and then being like, that's less risk. No, that's still more risk because you're adding more. I'm thinking more like I have a certain number in mind that I'm playing with my margin. I'm entering, you know, a third here and 2/3 up here kind of a thing, or a quarter here, 3/4 up here. Why didn't the indicator move the higher high to the lower high after the higher low was broken to the downside? This indicator looks at structure slightly different than me. Actually, there it goes. So like I said earlier, or maybe I didn't say that last video I definitely did. So this is a lagging indicator because it actually takes other things into consideration. It takes volume as well as structure into consideration. So like, but it's wonderful because at the same time, it really helps you see now that like you're waiting for the pullback anyways, right? So sometimes they're going to print too late. But this is one of those cases where, hey, that's a potential setup right there. But why it never printed one here, for example, I'm not sure. Again, it might have had something to do with volume or something. I don't know the programming side of these indicators. I just kind of have a few ways that I use them. Oh, for the higher low? Oh, well, that's where I said I could pull it from here or here or here, basically. Since the indicator pointed this one out, I'm just using that as a little bit of confluence for pulling my fib. But honestly, the outcome's the exact same, right? Whether I was pulling this fib from this level or I pulled it from down here, it was the exact same thing, right? We went slightly above the 886, but by no means anywhere close to my invalidation. So it actually played out the same, still hit the range target. Do I trade other coins with the STUBERs? Once in a while. I played XRP earlier today, actually. I pointed it out in the Discord this morning. Blofin. Here we go. So yeah, I shorted XRP. I actually took profits on the whole thing. Maybe I should have held on to it, but I did take a short on XRP this morning. My reasoning for that was actually the 1 hour. I was just looking at this, and basically, let's just go to a naked chart here. Basically, this level has not been taken out since, beautiful double top, actually. Perfect double top so far. But basically, this is kind of where we lost our uptrend, right? Let's say we kind of lost this level-ish. And then after that, that's where, hey, structure has changed a little bit. I'm going to look for that Fibonacci. And yeah, so even though we went above it a little bit, we were trading into resistance, and that was basically what my warning was in the Discord. I said, hey, I know XRP looks great right now. Just a heads up, we are at resistance. I'm thinking about taking a short. I did take a short, but I'm not as comfortable in altcoins just because I mostly trade Bitcoin, and I'm just familiar with how volatile it is. I'm familiar with like the size of price action and stuff like that, and when I'm starting to use numbers of whatever coins, it throws me off a little bit because I don't do it as much. So I will the odd time, but I just haven't traded altcoins as much, especially after, like I was talking about with liquidations earlier, when that did happen to me on an altcoin one time, just because there's less trading volume on them sometimes and just thinner order books. And like I said, my stop loss was in like a 5% profit, and the position got entirely liquidated. I double and triple check my stop losses all the time. I always made sure, like, I know that one was in place because I remember specifically seeing that it was in a profit. And then that position, I got an alert on my phone that my position was liquidated. And I thought, what the hell is going on? And obviously, I don't throw an entire account into a position, and I don't use cross leverage. So it was just the amount of margin that I used on that position. But it still sucks when you did everything right, but you still get hit with slippage or something like that. And that's kind of put a sour taste in my mouth with trading altcoins ever since. So I'm pretty careful with them usually. But yeah, like to me, it looks like XRP is still in resistance, right? Obviously, it's had a very strong trend recently, so, and I don't trade them very often, so it's very possible it acts different. Typically speaking, structure is the same, but you'll just notice some coins do trade differently. Even the fact that quite often Bitcoin and XRP will trade different directions. I know usually, like, if Bitcoin's going down, altcoins are doing worse. If Bitcoin's going up, XRP's going up more. But so often, I don't know if you guys have noticed this in previous market cycles as well, that so often XRP will just all of a sudden start doing the exact opposite of Bitcoin. So that's just an example of that coins can trade differently, and I just haven't traded altcoins all that much. But yeah, structure kind of looks the same. I'm going to delete this because I'm not in that short anymore. I'm probably going to regret that. I mean, that is... If this is to play out, that's a fairly significant move to the downside. What would that be? Maybe I should enter it with lower leverage. Holy. That's a 10% move to the downside. That might be worth taking. I might take a low leverage, small short. It's gonna, like when I trade altcoins, I don't trade the same position sizes as I do with Bitcoin or anything like that. Oh yeah, I don't mind answering questions anytime. That's why I'm here. I'm glad to have you guys here with me. Thank you guys for tuning in. What is everything doing? Bitcoin just won't die for me here. Oh, struggling a little bit. Just die. Oh, you set a lower sell signal. That's promising for me. I like to see that. Again, it's the 1 minute, so take it for what it is, but Lower low, lower high. Yeah, I don't know. It kind of looks like it's just going to break back above and set a new higher buy, but we'll see. Oh man, yeah, I think I have to take a swing at a little short on XRP. In this case, I'm actually gonna have my stop loss just above the highs. Just because I'm not super confident in trading altcoins, and just because I haven't been much, and I just don't want to have too many things on the go. Honestly, lately there's been a lot of times where I've had like 4 positions open on Bitcoin at a time, and it becomes a lot. And I've actually, the other day I woke up and I didn't even realize I was in a long position, and it was in a beautiful profit. But I didn't even remember being in that position because I was setting so many. It had like, it had take profit set, it had stop loss set, like it was done correctly. I've been trading on so many different accounts and stuff, I forgot I had it open. A great problem to have in that case, but that can go the other way as well, right? So I don't want to have too many things open since I'm mostly focusing on Bitcoin, but yeah, I'm just gonna keep things tight on this one. And again, obviously not financial advice, and don't get stupid with your position sizes. Just because I'm taking it doesn't mean anything. Like I said, I lose trades too. I'm not the kind of guy to, well, I feel good about this trade, time to all in 150x this trade. That's not how we do it, right? um, why don't I see this one? Why don't I have the sweet colors? Yeah, I must have to reload it or something. What do we got going on the indicators on this? Actually, XRP still does have this buy signal. I just want you guys to be aware of everything involved with this, right? Because it's important to consider the risks. Again, looking at what's worst case scenario if I enter this position, right? Right now, technically, we do have this buy trend. W's have higher W. We are still in resistance. I always look at market structure first, and then I look at indicators later, but this is a little bit of a warning. Red dot here, like to see that. RSI has a nice divergence. I like to see that. What's the 4 hour doing? Yeah, 4 hour obviously has a strong buy trend. Yeah, I don't know if the bulls are done with XRP. We'll have to see. Oh, actually, something that's interesting here. A lower reversal warning on the daily. Oof. The thing is, when you're looking at a daily, then in this case, invalidation would be way above this level. So that's not really anything to do with our current position. Just interesting that we do have lower buy signals, lower sell signals. W's are trending to the downside. There's a few red flags there. On the 5 minute, it's pretty choppy on the indicators on the 5-minute right now. And that's the thing. They're not always going to be clear, right? If you get into a sideways choppy motion, then just kind of, if you're wanting to use the indicators, wait for them to basically break out of the whatever range you're playing in. But it kind of looks like we're losing support here. Might see a lower sell signal come into play here, but that's a might. But yeah, again, we are trading at resistance. That is now just below the 886. What's the 1 minute looking like? What do altcoins look like on the 1 minute? Do they even have clean charts? Sell signal, higher sell signal, lower buy signal. Kind of mixed signals there. Can't use much for confluence there other than the fact that, yeah, we still do have this sell trend as potential resistance here. So, yeah, obviously it's good to see if we want to be bearish here. Suppose I should make a mental note for myself where my positions are, hey? This one I am more so looking at the 1 hour though. More so looking at this big range here. If we do end up getting that move to the downside on XRP, there could be a nice long opportunity around this range target, right? Not saying we're going to get there for sure, but if we do, that would be potentially a nice play. Wow, look how good that lines up. That is bang on. Oh, I guess that's because it's the same size range this time, since the top and bottom would remain the same. Yeah, potential nice long entry there if we do happen to get that pullback. Something to watch for in the future. Yeah, guys, I think I'm gonna wrap up here. The market's not just giving me that instant nuke that I was hoping for. But yeah, hopefully you guys found this useful. Again, just watching how I look at structure, STUBER, FIBS, just how I approach the markets with a level head. Don't let my emotions get the best of me. You know what? Again, have invalidation levels, have stop losses, all that kind of good stuff. And yeah, again, backtesting is so important, because everyone, like, we could have the same indicators, the same trend lines, we could have everything exactly the same, and I promise you we'd trade the market different. So it's always important to find out what works best for you, what you are easily able to pick out in the charts. Like, at this point, I don't even really have to use FIBS anymore. I just kind of can eyeball a 786, 886 now. But obviously when I'm showing charts and stuff, it just makes more sense to do it. And I do anyways, just because charting stuff is fun. But yeah, everyone sees different things, right? So something to consider there. Other than that, hopefully you guys found this useful. If you do like these indicators that I have a 10% additional discount on my link down below on top of current promotions. That gets you access to these indicators as well as the VIP Discord, which honestly, in my opinion, is over half the value, because that's where there's a handful of other coaches as well. There's 2 or 3 live streams every day showing, you know, we all have our own strengths, our own way of looking at things. So yeah, it's just great. There's so many different people taking different approaches, and just a super helpful, friendly community. Awesome to be a part of it. So if that interests you, that link is down below. I've been doing most of my trading on Blofin, no KYC exchange. If you sign up using my link down below, you get 20% cash back on all your trading fees. I cranked it up as high as they would let me. So if anyone's interested with that, that's a thing as well. With that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Thank you so much for tuning in again. I appreciate each and every one of you. And with that, chat soon, my friends. Peace.